In this third video, we're going to go into much more detail, and we're going to give information that would be useful to someone who's already knowledgeable about the vector system, the Canoe software, and how you connect it to tile. So I'll hand it over to Eric Bears.
Okay, so in this last demo, we're going to focus on the Canoe side of taking a configuration and showing what modifications need to be done to connect it to tile. So we're going to go off of the easy tile demo that we looked at before. We're going to go ahead and load the profile in tile, and since we're not focusing on the tile modifications, this is the shipping demo. It already has the changes that are necessary on the tile side. But what we did on the Canoe side is that in the shipping examples, which is in this public documents vector Canoe, and then the Canoe sample configuration /can. These are where all the shipping examples for Canoe are. And I just took this easy folder, the entire folder, which has the easy config and all the supporting folders, and just copied the entire folder into a folder called easy tile demo. So this is the same. We're starting with the same exact shipping configuration, and we're going to show how to from scratch really make the changes necessary in any Canoe configuration to connect it to tile. And all I did was just renamed the config file to easy tile demo. So that's kind of our starting point, and I have that loaded in Canoe already, so we can run that. And again, this is just the same example that we've been running. We start the motor, increase the speed. You can see the graphics change as I toggle some of the CAN signals here. So we'll stop that. I do want to point out that going back to the README file, that this is all this procedure is documented in here, so you can follow along. I'm just going to be showing and demonstrating some of the ideas that are already laid out in more detail here. Specifically, if you have the bookmark showing down here where it says Canoe Setup, this is the section that we're going to be looking at in more detail. So going back to the Canoe configuration, on the Setup tab here in the desktop, the Canoe desktops, or whatever desktop you're looking at, if you were getting to this, you need to be in the simulation setup view. So you can open that in any desktop by just going to View Simulation Setup. This will show you a picture of your network with the nodes that are already configured, and we give ourselves some more real estate here. There's another view here which is we need to look at. So we'll right-click in Simulation Setup and turn on the System view. This is where we're going to be making some changes. You can see here that it lists the nodes and the databases, the things that exist in this configuration. Most configurations will already be connected to their own database that has definition of signals and environment variables that are defined in this particular setup. So this is the easy.dbc file, and we're not going to make any changes to that, but those are signals and variables that we could be connecting to in tile. So what we need to do is add our own database. So before we come in here and make the change in the configuration, what I want to first do is come back out to Windows Explorer and copy the files over into this local example folder. So on the tile side, we ship in the mmonitor Canoe folder inside of tile. There's a folder called Canoe Tile Template Files. So we want to be in that folder, and this tile.dbc is the file that we need to copy into our local example configuration. So it belongs in a folder called CanDB. So we'll just copy the file over here. And then while we're at it, the other file that we're going to copy is the tile.can file. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And that's going to go into the nodes folder. So you'll probably see other .can files that are already there. We'll just add ours into the mix. Okay, so now those files are in a place where we can get to them, where they're part of our local configuration. So now we'll come back to the simulation setup, right-click on Databases, and say Add, and make sure that we're in the right place. We're in our Easy Tile Demo folder. We go into CanDB, and that's the file that we just put there. We'll click that. It will add it into the simulation view. So that's the first step. The next step is to add that the .can file into a CAPL node. So to do that, we right-click in the graphic view of the simulation setup, and there should be an option that says Insert Network Node. So we click that. It will add a module here that we're going to right-click, go to Configuration, and we'll name this tile. This is going to be our tile node. And then we need to point to that file. So we'll click on the File button, navigate into the Nodes folder where we copied that file, and select or double-click on tile.can. And then we can say OK, and here we are. So on each node that has CAPL code associated with it, you'll see an Edit pencil button. So we can go ahead and click that just to make sure that things are connected. That will launch what's called the Vector CAPL browser. And we can see that our module is properly pointed to. On the databases, if we double-click on the tile database, this will launch the CanDB++ editor, which is their database viewer, and you can see the list of all the tile variables that we've added into the system. Okay, so now let's go back to analysis, and in the shipping example, what you noticed is that in this data view, we had gone ahead and added a lot of, probably most of those variables into the view so that when we ran this system, we could actually monitor and see them. So we can right-click in Data and say Add Variables, and now we should see those, it should see all the variables that we have in the tile database, because that's now part of the system. So we can just select all these, say OK, and these are now added into the data view, so they'll be active when we run this measurement. You can do the same thing in a graphics view. You can right click, you can say Add Variable. The one that I was most interested in kind of viewing relative to the other signals was either the start dwell or EUT in progress. We'll go ahead and look at the start dwell, and that will add it so we can see the when tile is actually testing relative to the other signals. So that's it. That's all we have to do. Those are the steps that are documented in the README, and that's how easy it is. We want to go ahead and save this configuration. We should be able to come back to tile, run the test. Everything else has been pre-configured because it is the Easy Tile demo, so all the other signals and variables that are being monitored already exist in this profile, and we should be able to see the signals active in Canoe. You can see that when the test is in progress, we need to go ahead and turn on the motor until we actually generate some data that tile will have access to. Now you can see the numbers start to show up on the tile side. So that's it. Those are the steps. Again, that should all be documented in the README file, but that's kind of going through it interactively here in this demo.
Thank you very much, Eric.